Ladies and gentlemen, and honorable educators, my name is Fathi Arkana from SMKN 69 Jakarta, and today I stand as the first speaker of the opposition. The proposition today identifies a very real problem in Indonesia. Many students are unable to continue higher education because of financial limitations. And on opposition, we agree that this is a serious issue that the government should address. And however, recognizing a problem does not automatically make the proposed solution effective. Because the proposition solution is essentially this. The government pays for university first, and students repay the cost later through long-term income contingent loans. But our side believe that policy creates more structural problems than solution, and especially in the Indonesian context. So, as first speaker of the opposition, I will present three main arguments today. First, why this model is extremely difficult to implement effectively in Indonesia economic structure. Second, why this policy weakens the bargaining power of young workers and risks creating labor exploitation. And third, why higher education should primarily be treated as a public investment, not as personal debt carried by students or decades. Let us begin with the first argument, the implementation problem. The proposition repeatedly compares the system to Singapore's education financing model, but this comparison ignores major differences between the Singapore and Indonesia. Singapore has a highly formalized economy where most workers are employed in stable, trackable sectors. The government can accurately monitor salaries, taxation, and repayment system. Indonesia is very different. A large percentage of Indonesians working in informal sectors like freelance work, small business, temporary jobs, online transportation, and unstable employment. The proposition says repayment only happens after graduates earn enough income. But practically speaking, how will the government consistently calculate the income of millions of workers with unstable and fluctuating earning? For example, imagine a graduate who cannot find a formal employment and instead survive through freelance work, like maybe or small scale entrepreneurship. Their income changes every month. The administrative system needed to accurately monitor and manage repayments on that scale is extremely difficult and expensive, while as a result, two outcomes are likely. Either repayment collection becomes ineffective, causing a large amount of unpaid debt and financial pressure on the state. Neither or the government becomes more aggressive in collecting repayments, placing long-term pressure on graduates and their families. Like this brings me to the second argument, the labor market impact. The proposition claims this policy increased access to education and creates a more skilled workforce, where, however, they overlook what happened when the millions of graduates enter the labor market while carrying a debt obligation. These graduates become financially pressured to accept almost any available job simply to maintain repayments. And this weakens their bargaining position against employer. Companies know these workers urgently need stable income. As a result, workers become less willing to reject poor working conditions, low salaries, or exploitative contracts. Additionally, the proposition proposed a bond system to ensure graduates continue working in Indonesia, but forcing graduates to remain in the domestic market does not automatically create enough high-quality jobs for them. If the labor supply increases significantly while opportunities remain limited, competition becomes harsher and wage may stagnate. Instead of creating an empowered generation of professionals, this policy risks creating a workforce that is economically dependent and easier to exploit. Now, moving to the third argument, the philosophy of education itself. The proposition frames higher education primarily as an individual investment, but our side is believe higher education is also a national investment. When someone becomes a doctor, engineer, teacher, researcher, or skilled worker, society benefits collectively. The government gains higher tax revenue, companies gain productive workers, the economy becomes more competitive. Well, in other words, the benefits of a higher education are not enjoyed only by the student. Therefore, the financial responsibility should not fall primarily on young individuals through decades of debt, especially because the debt has a long-term social consequence. Graduates may delay buying homes, supporting parents, starting families, or pursuing entrepreneurial projects because financial security becomes their main concern. Like the proposition argues that debt is acceptable as long as education access increase, but our side believes access should not come at the of long-term financial anxiety. So, what is our alternative? Instead of expanding large-scale student debt system, the government should strengthen public investment in education directly. This includes expanding scholarship programs such as KIP Kuliah, improving university subsidy, and increasing contribution from industry and corporations that directly benefit from skilled graduates. If business require highly educated workers, then business should also contribute more significantly toward the education system through fair taxation and partnership programs. And at the end of this debate, the difference between the two sides is very clear. The proposition believes that educational access should be expanded through long-term personal debt, and the opposition believes educational access should be expanded through stronger public responsibility and structural investment. So we should help students pursue education without forcing them to carry financial burdens. Uh, for much of their adult life, for this reason, my name is Fathi Arkana. I am from SMKN 69 Jakarta as a majoring SIJA, Sistem Informasi Jaringan and Aplikasi. We are proud to oppose. And thank you to hearing my debate. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.